Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Mr. Mark is not present. Ms. Kane? Here. Mr. Redmond?
Here.
Ms. Ryan? Present. The first item we have is a presentation from the National Park Service with regard to the update and rehab of the historic building that's in the Okay. Is that Mr. McCarthy, correct? And Ms. Moore.
Good evening, folks. My name is Vic McCarthy. I was here about a year ago. I'm the unit coordinator out at Sandy Hook, and at that point, we had started the process with the adaptive reuse, or the attempt to actually lease out the buildings out on the Hook, the Officers Row buildings. We had an RFP, had about 41 interested parties at that time. At this point, in December, we've actually come out with an RFP for 6 buildings. What we're going to do is take about 10 minutes of your time just to give you an update of what we're doing and where we're at. And if anybody's interested, we have time set aside that will answer any questions that anybody has. So I'm going to turn it over to John Warren here to talk a little bit. He's the External Affairs Officer for our group, and he'll talk a little bit about what we're doing with leasing.
And oh, yeah, I'm sorry. And we do have handouts. However, some of the material that we'll be talking about is actually not in the handout because this was printed before we had a date for the request for proposals. These are tear-off sheets, so you can take one and then pass to the person next to you so that you have something to remember us by, and some websites which have a lot of information. So thanks for having us. We are here to talk about the historic buildings that we wish to preserve by leasing them at Fort Hancock, which is part of Sandy Hook. Now, the National Park Service always uses and needs the ideas of other people, and that means that this time around we said, why don't we form a federal advisory committee with people who are elected officials, local citizens, experts on different types of content, such as real estate or natural sciences, that help guide this process. They've been meeting since January of 2013, and they've given a lot of feedback, and we're really grateful to them. And in fact, your mayor is one of our council members, so thank you, as is Mr. Hill. Yes. So late in 2013, we issued something called a request for expressions of interest. Now this was not leasing any buildings. This was simply saying, if you could lease it, what ideas would you have? So we got 41 responses, and they gave us a lot of information. We didn't know what the possible market for leasing at Fort Hancock would be like, and this told us residences were the one that got more responses than anything else. Bed and breakfasts were up there too. We took this information and we put it into the form of a land use map. Because, if you live in a residence, maybe you don't want to live next to a restaurant that might be noisy. So we put residences over in the blue and red. The green is over to the left. That's Officers Row. You can see a little bit of the bay right there. The green would be bed and breakfasts. The yellow in back would be a community and educational zone, and there would be further zones. This is not set in stone. It's something that we're going to look at and probably refine and redesign as we go on. And that led us to something that's happening right now, a request for proposals, or if you're in the government, we call them RFPs. The request for proposals is open right now. It's open for 6 buildings, not all of the 30-something that you see in downtown Fort Hancock, but 2 bed and breakfasts, 2 residences, and 2 buildings for nonprofits. We're sticking to nonprofits at this juncture. And that information is available on the government website, which is right there. That page didn't exist, so that's not in your tear-off sheets. So this is the first process. It's a pilot phase of what we want to do at Fort Hancock. And this can give us a lot of information about how to do this the right way and even more smoothly as we go along. Again, 2 not-for-profit entities, 2 bed and breakfasts. We have several buildings open for residences, but only 2 will be leased at this time. And we're also going to fund rehabilitation of 1 building, Building 7. And in fact, we've already started with that. You can see that the porch looks a lot different from almost every other porch that we have on Officers Row. It's newly rebuilt, and we learned a lot with that. What we want to do is fix this as a sort of a sample for further renovations to buildings at the fort, using the Interior Secretary's standards for historic rehabilitation. Can you put up a neon sign out there? No. You're going to have to follow the basic ideas for historic rehabilitation. On the other hand, yes, you would be able to have a refrigerator and a dishwasher. Somebody asked you that. So, okay, yes, we expect you to have that. The evaluation will happen, of course, after April 17th, which is the deadline. And that evaluation will happen outside of the park with NPS officials who will be evaluating it based on these 6 criteria. You see that they're weighted differently, and that shows where our priorities are. We want to make sure people have the finances to do this right, experience maybe in doing historic rehab, preservation is important. Rent is just 5%, because the goal of our project here is to save buildings, not to make money. And once that pilot phase happens, then we'll be able to inform the future phases. The purpose of this one right now is to demonstrate success early, which will hopefully inspire future development, but development done in an environmentally sound and historically sensitive preservationist way. It's also going to teach us a lot about what infrastructure demands we have and how we can fix them or improve them. We're going to take that map and we're going to look at it again, shrink or grow areas. We're going to consider things like access for persons with disabilities and see what we need to manage further growth at Fort Hancock. Important dates that are coming up. Well, if you want a site tour, you call me, John Warren, and I'll set those up. Please don't show up expecting a site tour, but I'll be glad to make an appointment with you, and I'll be very flexible. Since this is a government process, we're going to do this in a way that is dictated by law and regulation, and that means question submissions have to be done by a certain point. That deadline is Monday, March the 16th. Then we publish those. We have FAQs, frequently asked questions, and they're available to everybody. Proposals, again, are due Friday, April 17th. We anticipate, and this is a guess, but we anticipate that selection would be 5 weeks after the submittal deadline. We'll find that out when it happens. And then after that, there will be further negotiation. It's not like you are renting a place and there's a price for rental. Everything is negotiated, and so anticipated lease commencement is also subject to negotiation. So the place to look, or to start looking, if you do go on the front page of the National Park Service's website for Gateway National Recreation Area, you scroll down, you'll see something about leasing buildings at Fort Hancock. And so that website can take you to the information that you need if you're interested. And right now, if you're interested, you have some questions for us. Pete and I are both here, and we're happy to talk. And
Tim, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just want to say, being a representative to the Federal Advisory Committee has been a great experience, but it also was a broad spectrum of folks from neighboring communities coming together. And unlike processes in the past, I'm sure we've all heard of out of Gateway National Park, we really started from scratch. We didn't look at what was done in the prior process. We really started anew. And the makeup of the committee was extensive, and a lot of great people, a lot of great comments, and a lot of give and take. I was happy when we did decide to come back to possibly a pilot program, because at one time we were talking about probably master development of the whole area. And we just kind of felt, after months of discussions on that, that maybe taking a little piece was going to be most beneficial. So I am excited. I think it's a great process, great program. I've used Gateway National Park for almost 55 years in various ways, and we'd like to see the future of the park really be sustainable. So it's been an honor to serve. Thank you.
Questions, folks? If not, yes, sir.
You never put my name on that 20 years ago. When they were going to offer it to my folks and had ideas of more the best. And then they decided to go to this corporation for a flat and all 20 years later. Back to the original program 20 years ago. Which is a waste of time and effort and all of that. Like, what's the prerequisites for that? Is it a lease? You have to commit as far as money and resources, rehabilitation.
Well, first of all, you're asking a question we get a lot. Is it a lease or can you purchase? And these are leases because these are buildings in federal, they're in a national park. So there's no legal way that we could sell them to you. Leases theoretically could go as long as 60 years. There's a lot of financial stuff that you have to do in the application. Because when those applications are looked at, we want to make sure that people can actually afford to do this. They are, of course, in a deteriorating shape. And, we want to make sure that people will be able to do this, do justice to the building, but also be able to enjoy it. So that's in our interest and in your interest too.
So, I don't know what term lease it is.
Everything's negotiated. Yeah.
Has anyone looked at the buildings and come up with a ballpark as to the number that they could rehab?
There are figures that we've used for internal use, but frankly, we think that an informed leaseholder is a smart leaseholder, and so the best thing to do is to hire somebody who will actually do that kind of estimate for you and make sure that you have a price going in, because that's going to be part of that negotiation. You're going to
The service hasn't come up with any number.
The numbers that we've been looking at in the ballpark, depending on the facility, could range anywhere from 800,000 to about 1
per building.
per building.
Yes. Well,
And it depends on, the leases would be amortized. So what your investment is would go towards your rent. So,
800K
to about 1.4. Those are local.
But, don't take our word for it. Have somebody come in who knows his stuff, historic architect or somebody with a lot of talent, to be able to make that judgment and inform you.
But it depends on the conditions. The way that they'll evaluate it is that the request for proposal actually has criteria that we ask you to answer some of the questions on. And John talked about that, a weight of questions on what your answers are.
Remember 20 years ago, they were estimating 500,000. Now 1.5 million. Get folks to invest that kind of money. Take that back to all the breakfast. Grandfathers.
The leases can be assigned. So if you have a 60-year lease, it can be assigned with approval of the bar service.
So you say possibly up to 60 years.
Up to 60 years. But there's some other questions.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
With all these new FEMA building standards and this being right on the water, how are you going to work that in with retaining the historical value with these structures? For someone coming in?
I'll talk a little bit about that. One of the things that we found was with the basements of the buildings, particularly on Officers Row, is they didn't hold water. And where they sit at this point, they're sitting at anywhere between, the first floor sits at +1, +1.5. What we're doing actually with our own buildings that we're retaining there is we're moving our utility infrastructure up to the first floor, and we're kind of working within the historic guidelines in order to do that. So in regards to electricity, depending on how we're gonna do, whether we open a wall and repatch it, or whether we decide to run wire bulb, that'd be an option. And then when we look at the piping for the boiler, we're gonna look at the best way to approach that in regards to whether we run the piping along underneath the floor, or whether we run it up and then run blowers down. We haven't decided that yet.
Incidentally, the buildings that did receive flooding that are on Officers Road, they had some flooding in the basement. There are some buildings that did not receive any flooding on Officers Road. They're at the southern tip of it, so just keep that in mind.
Okay, no, I just wanted, everybody has to raise if they're gonna invest $800,000 for renovation. I just wondered how you could bypass that.
Yeah, and you're up, like I said, the first floors were up at +1 some. First floors were up like that.
Yeah, the buildings can't be elevated, they're
No.
historic buildings, but the services in them can go from the basement up to the first floor, and then that puts them above the floodplain.
Anybody else? Folks, we really, really appreciate you having us. I'd like to thank the town council and the mayor. Tim, thank you very much. And you guys have the website. If you have questions, please feel free to call us out on Sandy Hook. We're more than glad to answer any questions you have. Thank you. That's schools.
Open up, it's 20. Wow.
Oh, okay. We ready? Consent agenda, does anybody have anything on they want to pull off, talk about, discuss separately?
I did speak with Carol today on R1551. I was a little confused because it's for the Atlantic Highlands PTO, but the event's being held in Highlands.
I get
Which
it,
is why
okay,
we're
I did see that email.
So I just had questions about that, but other than that, I'm fine with everything on the consent agenda.
Mr. Carr, any,
I'm good.
Ms. Ryan?
No, I'm fine with everything.
Mr. Wagner? Okay, I'll offer it.
Offered by Mayor Nolan,
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Redmond, Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan?
Yes.
You guys remember the note to resolution 49, it was no corrective action that was needed this year.
Yeah, correct, they didn't know that.
Okay.
I was thinking that there was nothing,
Payment of bills, complete copy available for public view at Borough Clerk's office. Vincent? Oh, I apologize. Okay, other resolutions, public portion comment period.
That was brought up to me. I wanted to be able to offer to the community to be able to comment on the agenda, on consent, and only agenda items in the beginning of the meeting, so if they have any questions or concerns.
Okay.
But it only to be in the beginning for agenda items.
Okay, so what we're asking is public comment period, just based on the consent agenda before it. Does anybody?
Before.
That's what you're offering, sir?
Yes.
With the same, I assume parameters as our
Yes.
master, okay?
Okay, so this means that there would be 2 public portions of each meeting, or
Yeah.
only of the workshop meeting?
I would say anytime we have a meeting.
But is there, any time there's a consent agenda? Right.
Because there's
There's some meetings that are fast, like we do impromptu, and there's no.
yeah, I mean, there might be some non-consent agenda that's a fair question the public can have, but just like what Becky just said, a fair explanation, and it goes through quickly, but I think the public should have right to comment.
Oh, I think the public should also. I remember when we used to have that, and it was a good thing. I don't know how much, if we should have both.
Okay.
Could we do it all at one time, or could we do it before?
Then you would be
Does
saying to
anybody
set it up
have-
for one after instead of,
Or no, one before, it would
One
have to be before, it would have to
that's
be
what I'm saying, I
before.
apologize,
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah. It would have to be
before and nothing at the end, and then at the end you get everybody gets.
No, it's just, an idea. I mean,
I would keep them separate. Separate.
So, because if you do it only before, then no one has any comments on anything, you would have to open it up to anything. Just making
Yeah.
that clear.
Right, and that's it, no, I don't
And you
want
didn't
that.
vote
I
on
don't
it
want
yet
that.
or
Right.
talk about it.
But I want people to be able to ask a question about it.
And then in public portion, if they have whatever,
It's wide open.
wide open, whatever
And
they
and
want.
nothing's changed, and he asked the question.
Correct.
Usually it's accepted agenda item, because we've already had a chance to talk
Or,
about it.
or,
Okay, accept agenda item?
Well, at the end, because you already had your chance to talk about agenda items. That's usually how it works.
Okay.
So,
What's the length of
public
time
portion,
in
you
the
can
beginning?
can't
Or how
comment
many
on
people
consent
you
agenda items.
Yeah, I mean, you really can talk about anything, but you've already had your chance to talk about it, so you're taking time
Okay.
from somebody else who wants to talk about whatever issue.
Mr. Redmond has a question, I introduce Mr. Carl.
Are you setting a time on it?
It would mirror the same time frame, 3 minutes. I don't think, quite honestly, the question is fair with, and it's only on the consent agenda, I don't see people asking long questions in that. I mean, or even the idea of that being able to pull it off consent agenda and open for discussion.
Which we did basically do.
We did.
Right, but the public doesn't have that ability
I
to
agree.
do that.
Does anybody, so you're offering that, Mr. Carl?
Yes, I'm all.
Does anybody want to second that, in their opinion, and need to have this?
I do.
Okay.
I'll second that. I want this. I know that it is good for me to have it when I'm sitting on the other side of the table.
Okay. So work the world around. Borough Clerk, please, roll call.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
No.
Mr. Redmond?
No.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes?
Mayor Nolan?
No.
Motion failed.
1536?
Yes. This is for our professional engineering services for the street sweep project, DT&M Associates at $143,000.
Okay, anybody have any questions on
I'll
this?
see you on this. I'll see that.
I'll offer it.
Offered by Mayor Nolan,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Redmond. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane? Yes. Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan? Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan?
Yes.
Resolution R 1552, resolution awarding professional engineering services for the stormwater project that's for T&M at $110,000.
Anybody have any questions, concerns, or issues with this?
The North Street Company.
Anybody want to offer it?
I'll offer it.
Mr. Carter, Mr. Redmond?
Offered by Mr. Card, second by Mr. Redmond. Mr. Card?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan?
Yes.
Resolution R 1553, resolution for professional engineering services for the North Street Pump Station, E.T. and Associates at $70,000.
Okay, does anyone have any questions, concerns, or issues with 1553? Okay, anyone want to offer?
I'll offer.
Offered by Mr. Redmond.
And Ms. Kane, second.
Second by Ms. Kane. Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Knoll?
Yes.
Resolution R 1554, resolution approving Title 39 for Block 101, lots 27.02 and 27.03.
This is accepting the consent for the Navigant Partners Development to enforce Title 39. We're also preparing an ordinance. This is just a response to their initial request.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Ms. Kane offered it, I'll second.
Second by Mayor Nolan. Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Kane? Yes. Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan?
Title 39 is motor vehicle code.
Yes.
Resolution R 1555, resolution authorizing bid for lease of plan.
Bruce, want to explain exactly what the table is about?
Sure, this is authorizing the borough to prepare bid specifications to put out for a lease of the plant. So that lease expires mid-August of this year.
And who can offer a bid on this?
Anyone who's qualified, you know, the specs we prepare, we're going to utilize an expert in this.
So to be clear, this isn't freezing anyone out that's currently there?
No.
Any management companies or anyone working there or any associations?
No, yeah, I mean, there's going to be prerequisites, your license, qualified experience.
Things that we would have to do our due diligence on.
Yes,
And the bid is not going to go out till at least another meeting in the first in March, correct? What's the first date? Third?
at least.
At least, right, it could be April or May.
Right, we have to hire somebody to coordinate this for us.
And give us an idea of what we're talking about.
Right, now your current lease, I think the amount is around 38,000, but the resolution just needs council's input on a minimum bid.
And that way we would hire a professional to tell us what that should be.
Yeah, I would recommend putting it in here, we could always revise it at
Okay.
some point, you might as well start with at least what you have now.
Okay, I think that's fair. You want to start with what we have now? Want to put a higher number or
It's
we want to?
38.
Guys and girls.
Around up to 40.
What do you want to put up, Mr. Redmond?
I think we should double it.
Okay, Mr. Redmond is putting up 76,000 as his opening shot. I'll second. Okay, Clark second.
All right, that's offered by Mr. Redmond, second by Mr. Hart.
Correct.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Kane? Yes. Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Knoll?
Yes, please.
On for introduction, setting up a public hearing date is bond ordinance 0-15-6. Bond ordinance providing various 2015 capital improvements by and in the borough of Highlands and the county of Monmouth. State of
It's
New
not
Jersey.
public portion yet, sir.
Appropriating $1,386,000, therefore including grants in the aggregate amount of $588,077, and authorizing the issuance of $782,830 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof. And we can set this for the 18th.
Okay, does anyone have any questions, concerns, or anything else they want to voice now, or I will offer for the, what is it, I'm sorry, 17th?
February 18th.
February 18th, that's our next meeting.
Yeah, just set a public hearing for the regular meeting.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, I'll offer it.
Offered by Mayor Knoll,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Redmond. Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Knoll?
Yes, please.
That takes us to committee reports. We start with finance.
Yes, I'll start off with that. We've been having our bi-monthly budget reports, and part of that is we're going to be applying for the CDBG Essential Service Grant. Anytime since our town receives community disaster loan, and that's now expired, the state has another program out there, so we're going to be throwing our paperwork in there and see if we can get some money for the town for relief of the budget. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Public safety?
I have no report for the last 2 weeks, so will be my next report for.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Hill?
Yeah, Mayor, thanks. Start out with Public Works. As we know, we've had a lot of snow issues recently. I do want to commend the efforts of all who were involved. We had our crew and also seasonals, and we did have a contractor the night of the heavier storm that we engaged. And of course, everyone knows we did continue with the efforts after the storm, and even as of today, even though it's going to be melting, the guys are still out there removing some areas that were still of concern. We are continuing with pothole repair, even though it is winter. We do have a product that we've been able to obtain, and we can still, so if you have an issue with a pothole, do call it in. we'll try to get to it as quickly as we can. Of course, that's weather permitting as well. Bulk pickups are continuing as assigned. Of course, now if you miss the bulk pickups that we have during the year, you can call and request a special pickup. There is a fee, you need a permit, and it is limited to, smaller items. You can't put out a whole curb line full of debris and expect us to pick it up for $20. It's really not how it works. Also, construction debris is not allowed. The borough does not pick up construction debris, and we've been asked to remind residents of that because even our sanitation company is coming across that time and time again in the regular trash. They're reporting that there's a lot of construction debris being mixed in, and then when they dump it out at the dump, they get fines. So they're not going to take that, and I can't really blame them. Our next bulk pickups, of course, will be March, June, September, and December of this year. Construction office reported for December and January they had 47 new permits, 26 updated permits. The breakdown, they're going to a new program of reporting. So new building was 3, additions were 1, rehabs or renovations were 64, and actually had 5 demo permits issued during that time. I don't have the actual dollar value of the intake on the numbers, but the approximate construction value as per the permits was $7.3 million during that time. We, of course, didn't take in $7.3 million. I think it was closer to about $160,000. Zoning office, they were busy again, 13 approvals, 1 denial. Floodplain also was very busy with 9 approvals, 10 letters of compliance, and miscellaneous letters for elevation requirements, substantial damage determinations, compliance requirements, and also flood zone determinations. Code enforcement reported 30 inspections, 8 failed, and 22 COs were issued. As part of an ongoing and a request, the fire department, and I don't see the EMS here tonight, but the fire department gave me a brief update for the month of January. They responded to 25 calls. Members attended annual recertification training. Officers also attended the Monmouth County Fire Marshal's Chief Seminar. Miscellaneous, a new chief was sworn in on January 1st, 2015, and we did want to pass along our condolences to Howard Pronto Jr., who was a member of the fire police. They also did a tour for the Boy Scouts of the firehouse, and the fire department was involved with storm standby overnight during the storm that we had. First aid, I didn't hear from them. Generally, they send a representative, so I didn't get a report. Yeah, I think they recommended if they could to do it quarterly, if that was okay, so we're going to go with that. OEM, I just want to give a brief synopsis of the storm. As reported to the county through the system, there were no major incidents reported locally, and that's always a good thing. We had no reported power outages. Fire department and EMS were on overnight standby. Both of those volunteer groups did come in, particularly overnight, and made sure the facilities were manned in case of need. There were no evacuations and no road closures, and that's when you have to really close down. I know some of the roads had issues late that night, but in terms of travel, there were no road closures. Also, Monmouth County Water Rescue Team requested to be mobilized in our area, and since they knew that we were up and operational overnight, the Monmouth County Water Rescue Team did mobilize overnight at our firehouse just in case there was a need in our area. So that did take place. Recreation Department, again, the kids on the move, they have more kids being enrolled in that. Adult indoor soccer is going strong. Teen nights are scheduled for February, March, April, May, right on through June for both the teens and the high school groups. I've been asked to already announce that the Easter egg hunt is coming. So spring is going to be here. Saturday, March 28th, it'll be held right up here at the Highlands Elementary School field. They do ask you to bring your own basket. I always say bring a bag because the eggs bounce out of your basket. That's a tip from me. Okay. Kids running around the field and the eggs are bouncing and the other kids behind them picking it up. Just a tip from the table. From administration, I do want to report that the RFP for master plan is out today. Responses are due back on February 27th. We also have the RFP out for grant writer. and management, so that's out. I don't know the actual due back date, but I think that's in a couple of weeks as well. The NJDEA Streetscape, we did receive our official letter today to proceed. So we knew that grant was coming, we knew we were moving forward, we've been engaging, but today we got the good news that we have our official letter to proceed. The FEMA preliminary flood insurance rate map Monmouth County open house session. It's a mouthful, but I mentioned at the last meeting, and I think, is there info in the packets?
Yeah, but
There is.
I put flyers out also.
Okay, there's info in your packets and flyers. This meeting, like I said, it's not that you should go there and plan on spending from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. If you go with your information, you'll kind of go table to table, and you'll be able to get information. And this is all in preparation of the rollout of the new flood maps and that whole process. So I encourage everyone, and it's open to the area. It's not just open to Highlands residents. So
Flyers over there on the chair.
okay. Lead hazard grant, we did get news that we did receive $230,000 lead hazard abatement grant that is to help Sandy impacted homes, and there are income eligibility guidelines attached to that grant, but we're going to have an extensive program that will enable that type of cleanup, if necessary, be done, and it'll all be handled by a consultant that'll handle it from soup to nuts, from the income eligibility determination right on through the abatement process. So we're pretty excited to be able to receive that grant. Actually, I'm going to a session in Trenton tomorrow to learn all the ins and outs of what we're going to be faced with. We have met with various municipal officials in our area. There was a meeting last month in Seabright. It was just sort of a roundtable about, what's going on in the communities and how we're faring and how we may want to move forward. Interestingly enough, some communities are a little more sharing and willing to share of potential resources, but I think we're in good company to say that there's a lot of concern for each other. Our neighboring communities who are as impacted as we are, they're also reaching out to us for some assistance too, so it's opening up some good dialogue. Lastly, we are going to be implementing the department-wide safety program in 2015. It's something that we've been moving towards, and we're going to be meeting quarterly with all department heads to make sure that we're moving in the right direction. And that is my report for tonight.
Ms. Ryan, Board of Ed.
Yeah, I just have two announcements. Here at Highlands Elementary School, there is a program, pre-K, for children who will be 4 years old as of April 1st. It's free. And if you know anyone who needs this program, it's truly wonderful. And applications are being taken now. You can call the school or come right up here during the day. Also, there has been planned an event for the park, which is PAARC. It's the partnership to help students decide careers, college, et cetera, et cetera. It's been postponed at least twice. It is because of the snow and ice, and it's now scheduled at Henry Hudson for next week, February 10th, 7 p.m. Anybody who has children in any school in the area, even if they go to a Catholic school, they go to a private school, it's still okay, no matter how old the child is. All parents and guardians are invited and welcome to come and see what can be offered up at Henry Hudson or just with this test. Okay, thank you. That's the Board of Ed. Not me from the bid.
Carla, please.
From the bid.
Business.
Yes. And, for the Visual Improvement Committee, we prepared today a statement of qualifications for the muralist project on Mill Hill. The document is being reviewed internally, will be published on our website and Facebook page. We'll be sharing with our liaison. Our goal is to secure the muralist that complies with the statement of requirements and to begin, statement of qualifications, and to begin the project in March as soon as the weather permits. We formed a subcommittee with a few members of HVP and the council liaison. We'll also review with executive board from the Historical Society and the Borough Administrator. The theme will be welcoming and will showcase the town's highlights, such as beaches, lighthouses, boating, dining, etc. For the Economic Development Committee, we're forming another subcommittee to revisit electric in Barron's Park. We would like to meet with the borough regarding trying to get some new electric in place, before the spring, is here, and we'd like to maybe somehow work that in conjunction with the boardwalk project.
We're going to be raising additional money for additional park improvements at our upcoming events. For the Robin Hood grant, 23 projects have been completed, 2 homes, the final 2 homes are in process now, we're waiting for some weather, concrete, and the second will begin within the next few weeks. This will close the program with a total of 25 homes and a little excess of $200,000 in our grants, home rehab grants. For the Marketing and Events Committee, we had the Beef and Brew, which was our first St. Patrick's Day fundraiser, held it off the hook on January 25th. We had a good turnout. There were 2 pipe bands in attendance, and the program marshals, Rob Higgins and Dan Shields, were honored and presented with their sash. And we raised $2,100 towards the St. Patrick's Day parade. The chili cook-off will be held on February 22nd from 3 to 7 p.m. at Wyndham State. Tickets are $25, include snacks, chili tasting, beer ticket, ballots to cast your vote. We have a competition, which is the professional for the commercial Highlands restaurants and the amateur cook-off open to residents. Registration forms are on highlandsnj.com. The marketing committee, Monmouth County Visitor Guide has been received. HPP took a full-page ad and is featured in a 2-page spread. We're in the process of updating and printing our new visitor guide. The 2015 calendar rack card has been distributed with a new look, and the Monmouth County Tourism Director has taken those calendars to the New York Boat Show. The rack cards, the county guides, and the Highlands guides will be distributed at the Philadelphia Flower Show, the New Jersey Flower and Garden Show, Montreal Hunting, Fishing, and Camping Show, as well as local rest areas and other regional events. Thank you.
I have a question, if you don't mind. The chili cook-off?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have to be a resident, or can anybody?
No, for the amateur
Amateurs?
area residents.
It's open.
Sign up. Just for the professional, you have to be a
Yeah,
Highlands
professional
establishment.
time, but otherwise we can bring in some rooms.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank
yeah.
you.
It's very competitive.
I know, I
You
did,
gotta
great.
sign up quick, it's filling up.
Thank you, Carl. Shared service, anybody? Highlands up.
I think Tim wanted to just
You
mention.
wanna-
Yeah, I
talk
just wanted to touch briefly on that. Councilman Redmond and I did meet specifically with representatives from Seabright, I think was it yesterday already, or 2 days ago? And actually, there's a lot of feeling out there of mutual respect, and also perhaps joining together on some issues that they're having. One of the biggest things that they're concerned with is where they're generally operating their facilities, period. Public works and the like, so they're really reaching out. We're not sure where that's going to lead to, but they've expressed some, I think, concerns that a lot of us didn't realize that they had in terms of what they're really being impacted by. So we've opened up some really good dialogue, and I'm sure we'll be reporting further. And we may be benefiting from some additional shared services if we could do certain things.
And the plan is obviously that rep's taking it back to his council.
Yeah.
Rep to his council.
Yeah, and they're going to establish, direct liaisons on how they want that to work, because there's a lot of, as you can imagine, a lot of discussion outside of official realms of what might be happening. So they want to make sure that it's being tended to with the folks that can make those decisions.
Mr. Hill, Rebecca and I do the shared service. Can you make sure she's included in that, if we can, the next meeting
Absolutely.
as we go forward?
We held monthly.
Highlands Art Council, Ms. Ryan?
Yeah, I just want to mention this. I hope that we can have a full presentation in March. But I want to acknowledge the Arts Council. They've been in existence for just about a year, and they've really done some fantastic stuff. They have had art shows held in various businesses, which helps both the artists and the business. And last week they started, well, actually they had some films shown at bars a few months ago. But this past week they started a series of documentaries. Documentaries done by local artists, and it was at bars, and it was really great. A lot of people think that documentaries are just boring and dry. I don't think so. I think these are wonderful. Here's the deal. It's free. You can go to bars. If you want to have dinner, you can have dinner. If you want to have a drink, you can have a drink. But you don't have to. And it's free. And it's something for our residents that is free that this group is bringing. into town. So I think that it's fine, I want to acknowledge them. And again, I hope to have a bigger report from the staff in March. Okay, that's it.
Okay. Green team?
Okay, that's me too. All righty. So back in 2010, we started a green team here. Anna Little was mayor at that time, and a resolution was passed. And by having a green team with Sustainable New Jersey, you earn points and you can get grants and all sorts of good things in the town. So we recently reactivated the green team. Carolyn Bouillon, a resident, had brought it to our attention. We passed a resolution opening it up again. Carl Braswell has just been great helping me get this going. We're waiting to hear from everyone who had originally been on the green team, because it turns out you have to do that. You can't go out and get a whole brand new team. So we're waiting to hear from 2 more people, and then we're going to set up the meeting and have the kickoff and start doing really good stuff. Sustainable New Jersey, Sustainable Highlands, okay? So I'll keep you updated on that, but I'm very pleased that we've gone forward, and Carla literally helped me crack the code to get into this. Okay, that's it for me, Mayor.
Fantastic. Other business, we have a letter from Congressman Pallone to FEMA. Rebecca and I had a meeting with Congressman Pallone trying to address some issues that we're having in town. And I think this letter came out of, part of that meeting.
And I'm just going to read it into the record. It was addressed to David Sterhart, CFM, Acting Flood Insurance Advocate, Interim Office of Flood Insurance Advocacy, FEMA in Arlington, Virginia. And he writes, in advance of our meeting next month, I wanted to bring to your attention a matter of urgent importance to a municipality in my district. Highlands, New Jersey is a coastal community which was severely impacted by Superstorm Sandy. This tight-knit community began the process of cleanup and rebuilding before the floodwaters even receded. However, a number of residents now find themselves in a seemingly impossible situation. As you know, the process of issuing updated flood maps was ongoing before the storm struck. The advisory maps for sections of Highlands moves residents between the currently in the V zone to the less restrictive AE zone. Typically, this will be a welcome shift, as it carries with less erroneous building requirements, less expensive flood insurance premiums. However, in Highlands, many of the estimated 40 properties impacted by this zone shift need to rebuild because of damage sustained by Sandy. Since homeowners are required to rebuild to the current effective maps, these homeowners will be forced to rebuild to the V-zone standards, even though they know that when the mapping for the process is complete, tentatively in 2016, they will be in an AE zone. And therefore, they will have built to an unnecessary and costly higher standard. These homeowners cannot wait until the uncertain date when the maps are finalized, not only because they need to rebuild their homes and return to a normal life, but also because many are using grant funds which have time restrictions for use. While I recognize there are numerous regulatory and legislative hurdles involving this situation, I hope that you can assign your staff to work with my office and the local officials of Highlands to determine if there are any options available to help these affected homeowners. He looks forward to their meeting and discussing this and other critical matters with FEMA at that time. So I just think that's a really good letter to show that he's making progress on our behalf, or trying to. And hopefully we can contact Janet Fuller to see if we can get a recap of that meeting, how it goes after next month.
Okay, Ms. Ryan's going to read something.
Okay, yeah, this is really late notice. I just found out today, but tomorrow, Thursday, at the Affordable Housing Alliance on First Avenue, there's it's called the Sandy Relief Home Access Program. And this is for people who need accessibility. This program could include ramps, stair glides, vertical platform lifts. We've all seen what's happened now, maybe not for ourselves, but seen neighbors who have looked at their house, and now somebody who's elderly or handicapped, what are they going to do? And for those of us who will be elderly and maybe handicapped in the future. So it's happening tomorrow. They just put it together. I have flyers over here, but if you can't make it, or if you need more information, please contact me directly, and I'll get a counselor to talk to you about it, okay? Accessibility for those who are handicapped or elderly who need more than steps to get into their homes. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ryan. Public portion, Kim Skorka.
Kim Skorka, 315 at Shore Drive. I just want to say I'm disappointed once again in Rebecca Kane, Mayor Nolan, and Kevin Redmond for voting no on something that will give us more transparency and more information. And I would like to know why and I'd appreciate it if you two would at least look at me while I'm asking you a question and not at your phone, Mayor Nolan.
Sure.
I would like to know why you vote no. What are you afraid of that we're gonna ask that you're gonna have to
I don't
vote?
think anyone's afraid, so the answer would be, I lived through it before we had it, it was excessive. You have an ability to ask any question you want, you choose to grandstand at these meetings. So we don't need 2 sessions of grandstanding.
I'm not grandstanding.
Okay.
I'm trying to find out information
So if you have any
and trying
question,
to
you have
find
the
out
ability
why
to do
you're
that. The
voting.
agenda comes out Thursday or Friday, and you have 3 or 4 days to contact our public office and be able to get those answers.
I can't ask questions when I don't have the wording of the resolutions.
Okay.
How do I know to ask a question on municipal alliance grant application when I don't
Packets are
have the
available
entire
at Borough
resolution?
Hall.
By
All
when,
the
Friday or
resolutions.
Thursday?
And when I work in Freehold from 9 to 5, when am I supposed to get to Borough Hall between 8:30
I'm
and
just letting you know, they are available, so you can read them.
You're making it very difficult for us to get information, and I don't appreciate it. I'd also like to suggest that when you release the RFP for the plan, that you excessively advertise it instead of just having it buried in a local newspaper and on our website.
That was brought up, we agree.
And I would like to just ask Tim Hill if he can send a crew out to 315 to 319 Short Drive. We have a problem with the ice that's accumulating. It's going to be freezing the next couple days, warm again on Saturday, and then freeze, and I don't think it'll clear before the snow potentially comes that they're calling for early next week.
We'll make note of that.
Thank you.
Okay. Barbara Iannucci? Okay. Carol Bucko?
I have 2 questions. First, could you explain to me R1554?
Yeah, when you have a private development, there's a statute under Title 39 that you have to ask the municipality or give your consent for them to enforce the motor vehicle code in your property.
Now,
And then we're going to adopt
we
it.
have had this for 20 years, and whenever we call the police, they say it's private property, we can't do anything. I personally signed the Title 39 when I was here.
Okay.
So, I'm sure
Did
Jimmy's
they
not gonna
adopt an
have the same
ordinance?
problem we have.
Did they adopt an ordinance incorporating that?
I have no idea what they did. We had to go down to Borough Hall, sign the thing, and all that stuff. But, I would want maybe to apply again if necessary, because we applied. Nida was the clerk at the time, and I don't even remember, we had so many administrators. I don't know. It was the administrator.
It wasn't me.
But,
Wasn't me.
No, it wasn't me. But, they come, the cops come, and we personally have to sign the complaint. They will not do anything unless we sign the complaint, and I don't think that's the purview of the people who live there. If you call a cop to your house, do you have to sign the complaint? I don't know.
From what I understand, yes, but I'm not by no means a legal expert.
Well, if somebody rides a car into your driveway or something, you use it there, you got to sign.
Technically, I think you do, but again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal expert.
I don't know.
Would you please look that up for me?
Should I send the bill to you or?
2 hours.
I'm kidding. My other question was on the plan. The minimum bid is, you said 76,000. Is that for a 10-year lease
Per year.
Per year.
per year?
Right now, it's 38.
Okay. So it's.
Now, just so everybody understands,
Minimum.
this is not setting a dollar amount right now, this is sending out requests. If anyone,
Right.
we're not even sending that out yet. It's gonna take probably at least 90 days for us to get our information together. At the same time, the legal representative from the 3 entities involved will be meeting with Mr. Card and Mr. Redmond, we appointed you, I'm sorry. Don't ever leave a meeting. So, but they're gonna have a series of meetings, I'm sure not just one, to try to iron out what's going on with current tenants and people working.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Tom Reed?
I had mostly answered my question in the letter.
Sorry, we can't
Sorry,
hear you,
Tom,
sir.
can you?
Mostly answered my question, reading the letter from Representative Malone.
Yes.
It's my understanding that people had been afforded the ability to rebuild according to the best development act. And that FEMA came back, unfortunately, and said, no, you have to, until we, stamp the new flood zones, you have to build back to the B zone, but people already rebuilt to the A zone, but it's apparently definite, it's gonna be stamped into the A zone. My concern is there's a 4-year, moratorium for your ICC money. Are they gonna come back with this map and give people the ample amount of time to rebuild prior to that 4-year period? Or are they just gonna stonewall us to the end, and then there's gonna be homes that are not gonna go up, that need to go up?
And could have
Homes
additional grant funding.
logistically that cannot go up to the V zone because, you have to park the house in the middle of the street for practically.
Right.
So my concern is I have a house that I need to lift. The only way I can lift it to the V zone is if I park it in the street for 2-3 months. That's obviously isn't gonna happen. But I also need X amount of months, 6, 8, 10 months prior to that 4-year window closing to be able to build it to the AE. Is there any way besides this letter alone sent to petition these people and to, less of a slogan, light a fire under their butt, say, hey, the storm damaged us, the insurance company sort of damaged
Sure.
us, now the government's damaging us by putting us, by just painting us in the corner and saying, rebuild your house. No, wait. You need to rebuild your house, but you can't do it now. Why don't you rebuild your house? Because we're not going to let you. It's a frustrating situation to be in. I'd like to move forward with it, but I can't.
Okay, I would tell you that our conversation was much broader than this letter. I think this letter is an opening shot because not just in Highlands, but in many of the municipalities that he represents, they're all going through similar situations. And I won't say the main one, like the others that you brought up are not valid, they're valid too. I think the main one are the folks who just want to know what specifications are doing, A, B, AE, whatever we're talking about. So I think what he's trying to get is open up, like you said, a moratorium and maybe a crack in the door to get everything to where we can build, where we know they're going to end up even if they're not now, and then be able to iron out all these other details. So we're going to meet regularly until this is ironed out. I think this is just the beginning, if flat or better, a shot across the bow.
I'm just understanding pattern.
Yeah.
At some point, why if it goes past that 4-year limit,
Well, and like it mentions in the letter, a lot of other folks are in a position also, and I don't want to know your personal information, but their clock is ticking on their 1-year grant window. And if they're 4 months into it and they don't know what way to go yet, clearly they're going to have, now there's 2 extensions from talking to the manager of the Mountain County one. There's a 90 and a 90. They can't say you're going to get no matter what, but they're going to have to give them for the red tape issues. So let's hope that we get the rest of these details ironed out as we go forward with these meetings and correspondence.
I'm taking that your petition and say, let us build to the specifications that we all know are gonna happen.
It's gonna happen, and that's really what it says in this letter.
Already built in that, so you
Yeah.
can't come back and say, all right, now take it out.
That's correct, and that's what this letter really addresses, because so many folks are at that tipping point now where they gotta go one way or another, and their clock's ticking on the grant. And then we're talking about all the other issues that you talked about, and many more.
I'm in a position where I'm not getting a grant. Right, there's a lot of people that are in this position where I'm not getting a grant.
But you still don't know.
So it's out of pocket, so the difference between rebuilding it to an AE and a VE is, tens of thousands.
A serious amount of money, right? So that's our goal, the first one, and then we're gonna take the other issues forward. Okay, Carlos will follow.
I just wanted to commend the borough on their efforts for the snowstorm and cleaning up the town. They did a really good job. Thank you.
Okay. Mark out. Please, sir.
Judge Mark. My question is there. You wanted $78,000 minimum for the.
76.
76. So you want to double what you pay the Clammers.
What they've got for the last 10 years.
So why do we give the Clammers that? We're going to rent $76,000. Why do you want to bid?
That's not our goal.
Just a minute. Because if you're going to bid, you say some company, I think you say some company. Some company you come from China, and you give you $200,000, you got to give to the China, okay? The China bid.
If it goes
and these guys, he working up here, right? He pay taxes in this town. He working, he got kids, so you want to throw him out the bid. You say $78,000. Give it a chance. Give it $78,000, 76 what she is. Let her bid with you. I don't want to bid. And now I know the bid you're gonna be good. I know you people, you don't have any somebody, you're gonna bid in some different big thing, so you can afford it. This is ridiculous. To me, that's ridiculous. I'm the best guy. I'm making business in this town from the day he opened that decoration. I'm George Marco. I own the Olympic seafood. I buy almost the hair product from these guys up here. To me, he treat me good. He treat everybody, and I don't know what's going to happen. That's unfair. You're not giving the chance. You wanted 10 years, 76,000. You give to the Clammers 76. That's a town. You don't want to make money, too much money. What do you want? You're going to make what? You're going to make millions? What I say, you come from Germany, somebody can give you $200 million, so that you're going to give it to things so I can take the claims down there, right?
It didn't cost the town a penny.
To be fair,
The town ain't got a penny.
you guys are gonna keep order.
To
To be fair, now let us talk. So to be fair,
And I like, if you're going to be happy in the beach, I wanted to say, you see, I have a house, 30, I own Salisbury Avenue, 36 and 38. I wanted to get to know, tonight, anonymous telephone, she called me, she said to me, George, go down there to Tennessee. You know what I mean? I don't think so, that's fair. This guy, she's working 10 years, Rich Parmesan, she rip you off, and Walter, she rip you off the time, and he rip him off the Clammers, and finally he did something, he working, making money, he got kids, you pay school taxes, you pay everything here, and you want to throw him up in the garbage.
nobody does that, sir. But thank
That's
you.
right, to me, that's what you say to me.
Well, I mean, we didn't listen to the process.
That's a town.
Then you
First
didn't
of all,
listen
the
to the
town is a ghost. You don't have enough. You don't have enough. The town, all night, he's a ghost.
Okay.
You look at the streets up here, it's ghost. The building, what's happening? I bought my house, October 29, I lost it. I built it back. The town, what's happening with the town? You're looking inside the trailer, you're surrounding the trailers up here. Somebody want to go and a building department, I don't know what it is. Right here, right there. And you're looking like a gypsies.
Okay.
You make it look like a gypsy. A built-in house, $1.5 million it cost me the house.
Okay.
All right? And you live in, how to get a boy and thinking, I don't know where to get a boy, go in the trailer. What's happening? You don't have an insurance in the building, you fly?
We're working on it, sir.
Where are you gonna be?
Thank you. Time's up. Thank you. John from Seabright? Hang on, it's a process.
Where's the paper so we can sign it?
It was up there at the beginning of the meeting. We're gonna let them talk. John from Seabright. But listen, everybody's gonna talk respectfully like we are to you, or we're done. Very simple.
My name's Johnny Decker. This lady asked the question that I had. And I've been in Clammers for 64 years. And I'm in my 80th year and I'm still at it. But I have to commend this man. I could almost kiss him, but he's got a beat. I want to thank him for what he did. But also, you people are doing what you can, but again, give us the shot, because we've been with it for a long time. A lot of that money comes into this town. So, fuel, whatever these guys buy, documental, whatever. But again, this man made it clear to me that somebody come in with a lot of dollars, take it over, and when you say, as soon as you say China, man, because everything's China today. You can't buy anything without China being on it. And that's not my fault or your fault, but it's somebody's fault. And so, we're supposed to be Americans, and we're supposed to take care of one another. And all I'm asking is that, you treat us fairly, and that there are people here that would like to be here tonight. Kathy, the manager, who's not well, and her husband isn't well either, so she's tied up. But I want to thank you very much for hearing me, and most of all, I want to thank this man for what he had to say tonight.
Thank you.
There is somebody that knows we're out there.
Okay, we'll start over here, folks. Go ahead. Just read your name and address for the record.
William Mercedes, 18 Cedar Avenue. I would like to know why you don't have an engineer that specializes in places at below sea level. They put new sewers in front of my house. I never had water in front of the house. I'm telling the man, you can't live in the sewer. He goes to me, I'm an engineer, I went to school for this. After that, everything I get water in my house. You got to get a different engineering firm that specializes in places that flow through out.
Okay,
They put that bulkhead, that steel bulkhead, they took all the drain pipes out.
talking about Marina?
No, the bulkhead along that, along the
Marina.
place.
Yeah.
Every street had a drain. And as soon as
Just
they
so
put
we
that out-
understand, when that was put in, it's not the current engineering company we have now.
Yeah, but when they put that in, they took all the drains out,
Right, but it's not our engineer we have now. They fired him. Just so we're on the same page.
you know. They should put them drains back in, because when the water went out, the water flowed with it. And another thing about the plant, we put $100 and some thousand.
I know you did. We
Out of
talked
our
about that when you were
pocket.
attorney.
We're the only building that the town owns that's in operation.
Correct. Now, I'll make a statement and we can still ask our question. So we had a meeting about a month ago with the legal representative of all three entities. I guess there's three entities and one guy represents all three. Okay? Which was hard for us to understand, right? But whatever.
Could you
So,
explain that? I'm not
yeah, I
sure
guess there's an
I don't
LLC.
understand. Okay, the LLC.
there's a Bayman Association,
Right.
and the third group would be Certified Claim.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
which
can't
is
find
private
where that
property.
would be attached.
No, listen, we don't need to get into a debate on that right
No,
now.
I'm saying, because that's, all right.
We don't need to get into a debate on it right now. So basically, we ask for certain things, because in order to do any type of fair market value, one of the components of any unique commercial property is income verification, right? Also, there's other parts of it that we want to make sure we're abiding by a lot of the DEP regulations. No one's saying we're not. So we never had another meeting. So now we had a meeting tonight. That's why myself and a couple of council people came in instead. So we have another meeting scheduled for next week.
Right.
And this tonight was not sending out a bid. It was to give us the ability to do two things. Figure out what we want to do down there, and that no one ever said, and we said this to your legal representative for months now, meant eliminating anybody involved at all. Doesn't mean we want to eliminate anybody. But there was a process here that went on for about a year and a half that was called the Long-Term FEMA Recovery Plan. And part of that process was residents as well as officials got to weigh in on what they would want to see down there over and above the plan. So leaving it, and we own the property next to it, and what we could put to hopefully make it a better, thing that would go hand in hand with that business, right? So we wanted to explore that also. What we're also going to do is hire somebody that knows what they're talking about more than us, and give us an idea of everything that's happening the right way it should, and what the fair market value is. We also said we want to ensure that the person on the water is making the biggest percentage, not us, of whatever that dollar amount per unit is. That's the whole conversation, guys.
Right, because
We never said at any point, you're not allowed in, they're not allowed in, he's not allowed in. No one said that. That was all our goal is at this table as a council.
every dollar that goes off that dock brings $5 in the town.
And hopefully we can keep going with that. We all want that. There's no question. No one wants to change anything there. No one wants to knock the building down. No one wants to change the use. We want to hopefully upgrade what's going on next to it and maybe inside.
And what's going on with Borough Hall?
You want to speak to that, Mr. Taylor?
What's going on with the Borough Hall?
Yeah, why can't it be fixed? That was the first time since that place been built that had water in it.
Okay, well, your questions are varied there. We're meeting with FEMA again on Friday, and we're still trying to maximize the dollars that are going to be allocated to that building to put it back to the way it was before the storm and any mitigation or hardening. That being a critical facility means it has to be elevated to the 500-year floodplain. So this Borough Council has a lot of decisions to make in terms of returning to that facility. There's also other options that are being explored, a possible relocation. I can't get into details as to where and why, but there are other things that have been floated out, and we have been approached by various individuals as well. So to say that that building never got water before really doesn't bear on what the water that it did take in on this event.
Right. But, Seabright's up and running.
No, they're not, sir.
Work.
They just moved, just so for the record, they just moved their police department into trailers recently.
How many room trailers cost us a month?
We're being paid back 90%.
We're getting 90% reimbursed.
Hopefully.
No, that's a given.
No, that's a
Please don't.
No,
If you want
Now we extended the public portion because we thought there was about 10 people want to talk about the clam plan. So, 1 second, we're closing the public portion, and everyone that wants to talk about the clam plan, we're going to have 2 council people speak over here to you. Okay? I'm going to motion to adjourn. Mr. Redmond, Mr. Carter are going to hold the meetings, so they're going to speak to you over here. I'll second it.
You offer second by Ms. King? All in favor?
Aye.
Nays,
Why are we just doing it?
Yeah, they're gonna talk.
I'm sorry, paying the rent.